Hi, good morning. In GST, today we are going to discuss tax invoice, debit notes, credit notes. That means what is the time limits to issue tax invoice in case of goods, in case of services, and what are the particulars we have to mention in tax invoice, and what is the receipt voucher, and what is the refund voucher, and what is the debit notes, what is the credit notes, and when we are going to issue credit notes, what is the time limits to issue credit notes. All these details today we are going to discuss in part 1 and part 2 of tax invoice, debit notes and credit notes. So let us start. Section 31 of the CGSTX, tax invoice, that is what is the time limit to issue invoice for supply of goods. In case of supply of goods, what is the time limits? One by one we are going to discuss. For supply of goods, where supply involve movement of goods, that means where a machine is supplying, that means when a machine is supplying, it is involvement of goods. The machine is taken by the recipient. The machine we are going to deliver to the recipient. That means it involves movement. In such a case, what is the time limit to issue invoice? That means where the supply involves movement of goods, the time limit for invoice shall be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. That means, for example, for a machine is supplying, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time of removal of such goods. Where supply involves movement of goods, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. That means where a machine is supplying, invoice shall be issued before movement of such machine or at the time of removal of such mission. Invoice shall be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. Okay. Next one, where supply does not involve movement of goods. For example, a generator has been given on rent to the builder for 2 months. After 2 months, the builder has asked to the generator owner person to sell that goods. In such a case, when the invoice shall be issued, invoice shall be issued before at the time of delivery of goods or making available thereof to the recipient. That means after 2 months only. Suppose the generator is given on rent to the builder, a builder for rent. Then builder is used for 2 months. After 2 months, the builder is asked the generator owner to sell the machinery. Then in such a case, the time limit to issue invoice is after 2 months only. That means first one, where supply involves movement of goods, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of removal of goods. Where supply does not involve movement of goods, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of delivery or making thereof available to the recipient. Okay. Next one, where goods sold on approval or return basis. For example, a gold merchant is selling gold. He is located at Hyderabad. He is sending one costly gold ornament to the Bombay person. So when you are going to issue invoice, in such a case, the invoice shall not be issued because just is sending the goods to the Mumbai person. If the Mumbai person accepts such a gold ornament, then the invoice shall be issued on the date of acceptance. If the invoice is not accepted, if the goods are not accepted by the Bombay person and the goods are with him Bombay person for more than 1 year, then in such a case, what is the invoice? Where the invoice is to be issued? When the invoice is to be issued? In such a case, invoice shall be issued on acceptance of such a gold ornament. If such gold ornament is not accepted by the Bombay person, and the gold is with Bombay person, in such a case, invoice shall be issued within 6 months from the date of removal of goods. Suppose the gold merchant person is send goods to the Mumbai person 1st January. If the goods are accepted, then on the date of acceptance. If the goods are not accepted, within 6 months, that is from 1st January plus 6 months is equal to 30th June. So the invoice shall be issued on the date of acceptance. If he is not accepted, invoice shall be issued 6 months plus January 1st plus 6 months, that is 30th 6. Invoice shall be issued before 30th June. I can read now. Invoice shall be issued before or at the time of acceptance of such supply, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. If the goods are accepted, on the accepted date. If the goods are rejected, we will take the goods back. If the goods are not accepted, not rejected, goods are with the buyer only, in such a case, invoice shall be issued within 6 months from the date of removal of such goods. Okay. Next one. In case of continuous supply. In case of continuous supply means, for a Paradise Hotel, the oil merchant supplying daily 30 liters, 30 liters, 30 liters. In such a case, every day he is not issuing invoice. In such a case, when he is going to issue invoice, invoice shall be issued once in 15 days. The oil person is sending account statement. On the date itself, he has to issue invoice. Or any payment is received by such supplier. Any payment is received by the oil supplier from the Paradise Hotel, on such a date he has to issue invoice. That means where such successive statements of accounts or successive payments are involved, invoice shall be issued on or before each such successive statements or each such payment is received. I can read again. In case of continuous supplies, where successive statements of accounts or successive payments are involved, invoice shall be issued on or before each such successive statements issued or each such payment is received, whichever is earlier. This 4 I can repeat once. Where supply involves movement of goods, invoice shall be issued on or before removal of goods. Where supply does not involve movement of goods, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of delivery of goods or making available thereof to the recipient. Where the goods are sold on approval return basis, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of acceptance. If he is not accepted, it is not a supply. If no action is taken by the buyer, then 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. In case of continuous supply, where such successive statements or successive payments are involved, invoice shall be issued before or at the time of each such successive statement or each such payment is received. Okay. Next, what is continuous supply of goods? A continuous supply of goods means a supply of goods which is provider agreed to be provided continuously or on a recurrent basis under a contract, whether or not by means of wire, cable, pipeline or the conduct, and for which supplied invoices the recipient on a regular or periodic basis. Supply means it shall be for contract, it shall be for supply of goods or services, it shall be for a consideration, it shall be for a continuous or recurring basis only. For which supplies invoices the recipient on a regular periodic basis, maybe on 15 days, on 1 month, he is supplying the invoices. Includes supply of goods as the government may, subject to such condition as it may by notification. By notification also government may specify the continuous supply of goods. Okay. Next one. Some example. For a better understanding, I have given 2-3 examples. Ritu manufacturers Delhi supply goods to Prakar Electronics Haryana. That means Ritu manufacturers is suppliers and Prakar Electronics is recipient. The goods were removed from the factory in Delhi on 23rd September. What is the time limit to issue invoice? What is this one? It is a supply involves movement of goods. Once it is a supply involves movement of goods, what is the time limit to issue invoice? Invoice shall be issued on or before removal of goods. Therefore, what is the removal date? 23rd. Therefore, invoice shall be issued on or before 23rd September. I can read the answer. It is a supply involving movement of goods. Therefore, time limit to issue invoice, tax invoice, that is on or before removal of Ritu manufacturers, needs to issue tax invoice on or before 23rd September. Okay, got it. Next one. Mr. Ram has sent a generator to Mr. Shyam for 2 months. After 2 months, Mr. Shyam requested to Ram to sell the generator. What is the time limit to issue invoice? It is a supply not involve movement of goods. That means it is a supply but does not involve movement of goods. In such a case, invoice shall be issued only after 2 months only. I can read the answer. It is a supply does not involve movement of goods. In such case, tax invoice need to be issued at the time of ownership transfer, which is after 2 months. That means ownership, when it is transferred after 2 months. Therefore, invoice shall be issued after 2 months only. Then third example. Mr. Ram sold goods to Mr. Venkat on sale or return basis on 1st January 2019. What is the time limit to issue invoice? It is a sale on return or approval basis. Acceptance done by Mr. Shyam on 20th February. That is acceptance, we are sending the goods on 1st January. Acceptance done by 20th February. That is in such a case, what is the time limit? Date of acceptance or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Date of acceptance done by 20th February. 6 months from January is equal to 1st January plus 6 months. That is 30th June. 30th June or 20th February, whichever is earlier. The earlier date is 20th February. Therefore, invoice shall be issued on 20th February. We can read the answer. It is a sale on approval basis. If acceptance is given on 20th February, the time limit to issue tax invoice on 20th February. Okay. Second case. Acceptance given on 10th August 2019. When will Mr. Ram issue tax invoice? In two cases? Okay. On 10th August. So, acceptance given on 10th August. So, 6 months from January, 1st January is equal to 30th June. So, 30th June or 10th August, whichever is earlier? 30th June earlier. Therefore, time limit to issue invoice is 6 months from the date of invoice, that is 1st January plus 6 months, that is 30th June only. I can read the answer. In case acceptance is given on 10th August, that is beyond 6 months. So, time of supply shall be 6 months from the date of removal, that is 30th June 2019. Understand? Okay. Then, previously we have studied time limit to issue invoice in case of supply of goods. This is in case of supply services. First one, taxable supply service. In case of taxable supply service, what is the time limit? If I am doing audit services, this month I have done audit services today. So what is the time limit? I can issue invoice today plus 30 days. That is, time limit to issue invoice in case of supply service is before or within 30 days from the date of supply service. In case of taxable supply service, tax invoice shall be issued within 30 days from the date of supply of services. In case of second case, in case of insurer, banking company or a financial institutions, including a non-banking financial institution, all cases invoice shall be issued 45 days from the date of supply service. In case of insurance company, banking company, financial company, non-financial institution company, non-financial banking, non-banking financial company, NBFCs, all these cases invoice shall be issued 45 days from the date of supply. Other taxable service 30 days. In case banking, non-banking, insurance, all these things 45 days from the date of supply. Okay. Next, insurer or banking company or a financial institutions, including a non-banking financial company or any other notified class of supplier of services making taxable supplies between distinct persons as specified in section 25. Before or at the time such supplier records the same in his books of account or before the expiry of quarter during which such supply was made. That means distinct person means State Bank. State Bank of India having a branch in Hyderabad, having one more branch in Mumbai. This Hyderabad State Bank branch has providing services to the Mumbai branch. That is a distinct person. Any supplies made between these two distinct persons. One branch of SBI is providing another branch of SBI. In such a case, when the invoice is to be issued, invoice shall be issued before at the time such supplier record the same in his books. If the Hyderabad branch is supplying services to Mumbai branch, then Hyderabad branch has to record the same in his books in today. So today is he is liable to issue invoice. If the Hyderabad branch record the same tomorrow is the date for which the invoice is to be issued, or before the expiry quarter. Suppose January month they have supplied services to Mumbai branch. Hyderabad branch provides services to Mumbai branch on 1st January. So the same he is mentioned today. Today is the date. If he is not mentioned the such supplies, then the time limit to issue invoice is before the expiry of the quarter. For January, what is the quarter? January, February, March. March is the quarter ending. So before March quarter, he has to issue invoice. If his record is books today, today is the last. He is to issue invoice. If he is not recording today, before the end of the quarter, that is January month, if he supplies before the quarter ending means that is March 30, before 31st March, he has to issue invoice. That is supplies made between the distinct persons. Okay, next one. Next one, continuous supply of services. Where the continuous supply service, where the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, invoice shall be issued on or before due date of payment. For example, I am providing the audit services for 1 year. Every month I am verifying the vouchers and submitting the bill today. So in such a case, one more example for better understanding, I have a contract with XYZ Limited for providing my audit service for a continuous period of 1 year. In such a case, every month the due date of payment is 5th of next month. That means this month I have completed the audit and they have made the payment by 5th of next month. That means due date is ascertainable, due date mentioned in the contract. Once a due date is mentioned in the contract, invoice shall be issued on or before due date of payment. That means this month audit, my due date of payment is 5th. That means I have to issue the invoice on or before due date of payment. That is one condition is that the due date is mentioned in the contract. Once whether the due date is mentioned in the contract, whether the due date is ascertainable from the contract, invoice shall be issued on or before due date of payment. Understand? Okay, next one. Where the due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, due date is not mentioned in the contract, then when you are going to issue invoice, in such a case, invoice shall be issued before or at the time when the supplier receives such payment. Suppose I mentioned I had doing the audit work, but in audit work for contract I did not mention the due date. In such a case, whenever I receive the payment, on the date itself I have the issue invoice. If the due date is mentioned in the invoice by 5th, I had to issue invoice every month 5th, before 5th. If the due date is not mentioned in the contract, whenever I receive the payment, before on the day itself or before the date, I can issue the invoice. Okay? And third one. Understand? Third one we are going to discuss. Where the payment is linked to the completion of event. For example, I have a contract with builder for purchase of flat. On completion of slabs, I can give you 10%. On completion of brickwork, I can give you 20%. On completion of painting, I can give you 40%. Like that, payment is linked to the completion of event. That means after completion of slab only I will pay the payment. In such a case, when the invoice is issued, the invoice will be issued only after completion of payment. After completion of event. Suppose the slab work is completed. Immediately the builder has to make a invoice on me before completion of such event or on completion of such event. Once the event is complete, on slab work is complete, he has a raise a invoice on me. The due date of invoice is on the completion of event. Where the payment is linked to completion of event, invoice shall be issued on or before completion of event. Understand? Okay. Then supply of services ceases under a contract before the completion of supply. That means I have a contract with the XYZ Limited for audit work for a period of 1 year. After 3 months, my work is not satisfied by the company and they have ceased my services. In such a case, when the invoice is issued, invoice shall be issued on the date of cessation. That invoice shall be issued when the supply ceases. After 3 months means January, February, March. Suppose March 31st they have ceased my services. That means invoice shall be issued on 31st only for 3 months. What is the value of supply? January, February, March is there. For 3 months I have to raise a bill on the date of such services has been seized. Understand? I can read. One invoice shall be issued at the time when the supply ceases, and such invoice shall be issued to the extent of supply made before such cessation. I think you have understand. Okay? Next concept. what is continuous supply service? In case of supply of goods, it is a continuous supply of goods. But here, continuous supply services means supply of service provided or agreed to be provided continuously for a period more than 6 months. If it is only 3 months, it is not a continuous supply. If it is exceeding 3 months, it is a supply. It is under contract. What is that one? It is a supply of services agreed or provided or agreed to be provided. It is for under a contract. It is a period exceeding 6 months or 3 months. It is a period exceeding 3 months. Then it is qualified as a continuous supply of services. I can read now. Supply of services which is provided or agreed to be provided continuously or on recurring basis. Under a contract, okay. For a period exceeding 3 months, okay. With periodic payment obligation. That means for 1 year they have paid monthly 5,000 like that. That is periodic payment obligation, and include supply of such service as the government may, subject to such condition as it may, by notification. By notification, government may specify any services as a continuous supply service. That means any supply service which is provided or agreed to be provided for a period exceeding 3 months. And it involves periodic payment obligation. It is for a contract. It is under a contract. Then it qualifies as a supply of services. Understand? Okay. Next, some examples for better understanding. Example: Kachani Security Services Limited provides security services to Royal Jewellers for their jewelry exhibition to be organized on 5th October. Okay. What is the time limit to issue invoice? It is a taxable supply service. It is simple taxable supply service. What is the simple taxable supply service time limit to issue invoice? In case 30 days from the date of supply. Where the supply made? Supply made on 5th October. So 5th October, you exclude 5th October. So how many days left over in October? October 31 days. 31 days minus 5 means that is 26 days, and 4 days of November, that is 4th November. So the invoice shall be issued 5th October plus 30 days, that is 4th November. That is the time limit to issue invoices on or before November 4th. I can read the answer. It is a taxable supply of service. Kachani Security Services Limited needs to issue a tax invoice within 30 days of supply of security services, that is on or before 4th November. Okay. Next example. Mr. D has entered a contract for supply of services for 1 year, and payment has to be made by 5th of next month. What is the time limit to issue invoice? It is exceeding 3 months. That is means it is a continuous supply of service. Okay. What is the due date? Due date is 5th of next month. That means if it is a continuous supply of service, and due date is ascertainable from the contract. Once it is a continuous supply service and the due date is ascertainable from the contract, in such a case, time limit to issue invoice is, what is the time limit to issue invoice? Time limit to issue invoice is on or before due date of payment. What is the due date of payment? 5th. So invoice shall be issued on or before 5th of the next month. Okay. I can read the answer. Since it is a continuous supply of service and due date is ascertainable from such contract, invoice has to be issued on or before due date of payment, that is 5th of next month. Understand? Next one. Next. Mr. Z has entered a contract with the builders for purchase of flat. As per the terms of contract, 10% amount will be released on completion of slabs, and 20% on completion of brickwork, and 30% on completion of flooring. What is the time when the invoice is to be issued? It is a continuous supply because it is a purchase of flat. But any flat construction is not completed within 3 months. So it is a continuous supply. It is more than 3 months. So it is a continuous supply of service. And the payment is linked to completion of event. Because 10% completed, 10% amount released on completion of slab. 20% released on completion of brickwork. 30% released on completion of flooring. That means the payment is linked to completion of event. Therefore, it is a continuous supply service, and its payment is linked to the completion of event. Therefore, in such a case, when the invoice is issued, invoice shall be issued on or before completion of event. Understand? Therefore, for 10% amount, the invoice shall be issued on or before completion of slabs. For 20% amount, on or before completion of brickwork. For 30% amount, invoice shall be issued on or before completion of flooring. I can read the answer. It is a continuous supply of service and the payment is linked to the completion of event. In such cases, the invoice has to be issued on or before completion of such event. For 10% amount, time limit to issue invoice is on or before completion of slabs. For 20% amount, time limit to issue invoice is on or before completion of brickwork. For 30% amount, the time limit is to issue invoice on or before completion of flooring. Okay, na? Understand? Next one. Next concept. What are the particulars we are going to mention in tax invoice? It's very simple. Suppose if you are going to any DMart or any big supermarket, what are the details they have mentioned? The same details are there in tax invoice. I can read now. There is no format prescribed for an invoice, but rules make it mandatory for an invoice to have the following fields. Because in supermarket they have separate tax invoice format. In some electrical, what is that one? Mobile shops, they have another tax format. In case of Big C mobiles, they have some other format. In laptop dealer, they have some other format. The format are different, but the contents of some particulars are mandated to mention. What are the details mentioned? Just to take the format of DMart invoices, we can have better idea. One by one I can read. Name, address and GSTN number of the supplier. Because in DMart, their name, their address of Hyderabad address, their number also they have to mention. A consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 character has to mention. That means DMart oblique Telangana oblique Hyderabad oblique 2019-20 oblique March 2020 oblique 31. Like that you have to, but the character should not exceed 16. First, name, address, GSTN number of supplier, a consecutive number not exceeding 16 character, date of issue. When the invoice is issued, if the today is issuing, the date, today's date also mentioned, today's date only mentioned in the invoice. If the recipient is registered, if I am registered, I am go to DMart, I can purchase some stationery. I have to get the ITC credit. So in that purpose, for that purpose, my GST number, my address has to be mentioned in GST in their invoice. Understand? If the recipient is registered, name, address and GSTN or UAN number of the recipient. If the recipient is not registered, not required. If recipient is registered, it is compulsorily mentioned that GST number for getting eligibility for getting ITC credit after such purchase. Understand? Then, if the recipient is registered and the value of supply is 50,000 or more, if the recipient is unregistered, even the value is more than 50,000 or more than, they have to mention their name, address in state and their code, state code also they have to mention along with the address and also. If it is a less than 15,000, that is unregistered. If it is recipient, if recipient is registered, even the value is 100, you have to mention their GST number, name, address. If recipient is unregistered and the value is 50,000 or more, you have to mention the details of name, address, name, address and address of delivery and state code, name of the state also mentioned. If the value is less than 50,000 and supply is made to unregistered person, it is not required to mention supply recipient detail. But recipient requires such details. Recipient requires the supplier to mention his name and address. In such a case, he has to mention. He has compulsorily mentioned. If I go to DMart, I have purchased 50,000, less than 50,000, that is 49,000. I am asking to mention my name and address. They can mention. If I don't require, then they can't mention. But if it is a registered person, they have to mention because they have the recipient has to get input tax credit. Okay. Till now, what is the details? Name, address, GST number of supplier, consecutive number, not serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of issue, and if recipient is registered, name, address and GST number of the recipient. If recipient is not registered and the value of supply is 50,000 or more, he has to compulsory mention the details of name, address, place of delivery he has to mention, and state code also mentioned. If the value is less than 50,000, it is not mentioned such a detail. But if the recipient requires such details to be mentioned on the bill, but the supplier is mandatory to mention the details of name and address and state code he has to mention. Okay, next. HSN code. HSN code means HSN code for goods or services. What is HSN code? Harmonized System of Nomenclature. This code was developed by World Customs Organization. That means for AC, one code is there. For all over world, only one code, AC. That code they have to mention. If it is in India, if it is in China, if it is America also, only one code is there for AC. For water bottles, one code is there. For mobile, one code is there. It is all India basis, not particular state wise, not particular India wide. That is nothing but HSN code. This is developed by World Customs Organization. Understand? Next one. Description of goods. Description of goods or services. Quantity in case of goods and units are unique quantity code thereof. Okay. Total value of supply of goods or services. What is the total value of supply of goods or services? Taxable value of goods or services are both taken into account. Tax discount and abatement, if any. Rate of tax. Central tax, state tax, integrated tax, union territory tax. Amount of tax charged in respect of taxable goods or services. Okay. Place of supply with name of state in case of supply in the course of interstate supply. Interstate supply if AC is selling the company. If AC is selling by the dealer of the AC shop, this place of supply is not required if the same is supply is made within the state. If I will go to AC dealer, I purchase the AC, they need not mention the place of supply. If supply is made to interstate supply, 10 ACs are purchased by Mumbai unit. 10 ACs are purchased by Mumbai unit in Hyderabad. They have purchased in Hyderabad, but the ACs has been transported to Mumbai unit. In such a case, it is an interstate supply. Once it is an interstate supply, they have mentioned the place of supply. If it is within the state, intrastate, not required to mention the place of supply. Next, understand? Address of delivery with the same is different from place of supply. Suppose place of supply in Hyderabad, but address in some MG road, RP road, like it is there, they have to mention the address of delivery if it is different from the place of supply. Suppose in Hyderabad I mentioned, but it is supplied to some Warangal district. In such a case, address also they have to mention. Whether the tax is payable and reverse charge. If the tax is payable and reverse charge, the same has to be mentioned. Then afterwards, signature, digital signature of the supplier or his authorized signature. Any person signature is required. Signature of the supplier, authorized signature of the supplier, or any digital signature of the supplier they have to mention. But such signature details are not required if the invoice is issued electronically. If the invoice is issued electronically, such invoice manual signature and digital signature is not required. Then revise once. What are the details? Name, address, details of GST number of the supplier, then date of issue, and the consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters. If the supply is made to registered person, the details has to be mentioned. The details of recipient details has to be mentioned. If the supply is made to unregistered person, if the value is 50,000 or more, they have to mention the details of recipient. If the value is less than 50,000, it is not required to mention. If the recipient is required, then you have to mention. Then what description of goods, value of goods, tax amount charged, value of tax, quantity of goods, HSN of goods, place of supply in case of interstate supply, address of delivery. If the same is different from the place of supply, whether tax is payable on reverse charge, and signature or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized representative. However, the signature is not required if the same is issued electronically. These details are very common for any invoice. If you see any bill, all the details are there. First one time you read, that is enough, I think. Okay. Next concept we are going. HSN code. HSN code already informed. It was developed by World Customs Organization. Then HSN code, actually 8-digit HSN code are also there. Then number of HSN codes required to be mentioned on tax invoice. What is the number of HSN codes has to be maintained? In case if the company's previous turnover, if my company's turnover is less than 1.5 crores, I shall not require to mention any HSN code. My company's turnover is less than 1.5 crore. In case my company's turnover is exceeding 1.5 crores but less than 5 crores. Exceeding 1.5 crores and less than 5 crores. That is 1.5 crore to 5 crores. 2-digit HSN code is required to be mentioned. In case my turnover exceeding 5 crores, above my turnover is exceeding 5 crores, then 4-digit HSN code has to be mentioned. The same it is mentioned here. I can read for your purpose. Number of HSN digits required to be mentioned on tax invoice and the class of registered person not required to be mentioned. What is? Turnover up to 1.5 crores, nil. Exceeding 1.5 crores to 5 crores, 2-digit HSN code has to be mentioned. Turnover exceeding 5 crores, 4-digit HSN code has to be mentioned. Understand? HSN code for less than 1.5, nil. 1.5 to 5 crores, 2-digit. 5 crores above, 4-digit HSN code. Next concept. Understand? Okay, next one. Manner of issuing invoice. So, I am supplying of goods. So, invoice shall be issued in triplicate. Suppose I am supplying ACs to some XYZ company. I have made a supply of 10 ACs to XYZ Limited company. In such a case, I have issued invoices in triplicate. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the transporter, triplicate for the supplier. In case of supply of goods, invoice shall be issued in triplicates. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the transporter, triplicate for the recipient. Supplier. Triplicate for the supplier. In case of supplier services is not transporting. Because I am providing any architectural services is not transporting. In such a case, only invoice shall be issued only in duplicate. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the supplier. Understand? I can read now. In case of supply of goods, invoice shall be issued in triplicate. Original for the recipient, duplicate for the transporter, triplicate for the supplier. Okay? Next. In case of supply of service, invoice shall be issued in triplicate. Supply services. Original for the supplier, original for the recipient, duplicate for the supplier. Understand? We'll go to next concept. The serial number of invoices issued during a tax period shall be furnished electronically in form GSTR1. What is GSTR1? GSTR1 is a monthly filing form. We are filing monthly, on which the details of outward supply of goods we have to mention. What are the supplies made? We have to mention GSTR1. In such invoices, the serial number of invoice shall be issued during a tax period shall be furnished. If I issuing serial number 1 to 6, so means 6 invoice I have issued. The same details I have to mention in form GSTR1. That is outward supply of goods or services. Okay. Next one. It's only a concept only. Invoice in case of export of goods. If I made any supplies of export of goods or services, two types of work. One is supplies made out of state, out of country, that is export of goods. Second one is supplies made to SEZ unit, SEZ developer. It is also treated as the export of goods because it is outside the location of India. Why? Because it is treated like that. It is within the India also. It is treated as a location outside the India. Okay. In such a case, I have to mention whether I have made the supplied for export of goods or supplied made to SEZ unit or SEZ unit on payment of integrated tax. Integrated tax. Otherwise, if I am not paying the tax, I have to execute a bond, and on execute of bond, I cannot pay any taxes. For export of goods, without payment of tax, I can export on payment of bond. Otherwise, I can pay the tax and I can apply for refund. I can read once for better understanding. In case of the export of goods or services, the invoice shall carry an endorsement. Supply meant for export or supply to SEZ unit or SEZ developer. For supply for authorized operations on payment of integrated tax. Integrated tax equal to IGST only. Or supply meant for export or supply to SEZ unit or SEZ developer for authorized operations under a bond or a letter of undertaking without payment of integrated. With payment of tax, I can supply export of goods, supply made to SEZ unit, SEZ supplier on payment of integrated tax. That is one thing. Otherwise, if I am not paying tax, only I am execute a bond. On that bond, I can export the goods without payment of goods. In such a case, I have to mention supply meant for export or supply to SEZ unit or SEZ developer for their authorized operations under a bond or a letter of undertaking without payment of integrated tax. Okay. Then one more important is special cases. In special cases, revised tax invoices. What is revised tax invoices? Why I have to give revised tax invoice? Suppose I am liable to be registered today. So within 1 month I have to apply for registration. Suppose on January 1st I am liable to be registered. On January 25th I applied for registration and I got the registration on 30th of January. Means up to from 1st January to 30th January I have issued invoices. But my registration is granted on 30th January. For this 1st January to 30th January, I have to issue revised tax invoices in lieu of original invoices. Why? Because the recipient has to get input tax credit. My recipient want to get input tax credit. I have to mention my GST number after grant of registration. With between this period, between 1st January to 30th January, I have to issue a revised tax invoice due to my recipient has to get input tax credit. During such intervening period, when I have to issue invoice on January 30th, I got the registration. Within 1 month from the date of registration, that is January 30. So January 30 plus 1 month, that is February 28. I have to issue revised tax invoice before 28 for the period from 1st January to 30th January. Understand? I become liable for registration January 1st. I have applied for registration on January 25th. I got the registration on 30th. That means 1st January to 30th January I have issued without regular invoice, not tax invoice. But I got the registration on 30th January. So 1 month from the date of registration, I have to issue revised tax invoice for the period from January 1st to January 30th. For why? Because my recipient has to get input tax credit. Got my point? I can read for better understanding. Revised tax invoice shall be issued within 1 month from the date of issuance of certificate of registration. 1 month we have to issue within 1 month from the date of registration certificate grant. For the purpose of this section, the expression tax invoice shall include revised invoice issued by the supplier in respect of a supply made earlier. Earlier I have already issued invoice. In lieu of that, I have issued revised tax invoice. A registered person may, within 1 month from the date of issuance of certificate of registration, issue a revised tax invoice against the invoice already issued during the period beginning from the effective date of registration till the date of issuance of registration to him. Thus, there would be a time lag between the grant of registration, grant of certificate of registration and the effective date of registration. For supplies made by such person during this intervening period, the law enables the issuance of revised invoice so that ITC can be availed by the recipient of such invoice. Understand? Okay. Next. How there are 3 types of supplies for issuing of revised tax invoice. If previously I have my supplies made to registered person from January 1st to January 30th, some supplies made to registered person. If any supplies made to registered person, separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. I have made supplies to Mr. X 3 times in January 1st to January 30. 3 separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. If supplies made to registered person, if any supplies made to registered person during the intervening period, a separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. Suppose if the supplies made to unregistered person, there are two sets. If the supplies made to unregistered person and the supplies made within the same state. First is supplies made to unregistered person and the supplies are within the same state, that is interstate. A consolidated revised tax invoice in respect of all taxable supplies made to registered person. That means 1 revised tax invoice is enough. If supplies, total my supplies I have made to unregistered person Mr. X on 3 supplies. That means on 1st, on 10th, on 18th, 3 supplies made to unregistered person. That is within the state. The amount is 10 lakhs. So 1 invoice revised tax invoice shall be issued. That is enough. But if it is a registered person, separate 3 invoices shall be issued. If 3 supplies are there, 3 separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. If it is an unregistered person and if it is supplies made within the same state, 1 invoice, 1 revised tax invoice shall be issued. And Third one, if the supplies made to unregistered person only, but the supplies are out of the state, interstate size, interstate supplies. Supplies made to unregistered person and the supplies relates to interstate supply. In such a case, if the value is up to 2.5 lakhs, understand? If the value is up to 2.5 lakhs, supplies made to unregistered person and the value of supplies is if supplies made to unregistered person and such supplies is interstate supplies out of the state. Such a case, if the value exceeds 2.5 lakhs, I can issue a revised tax invoice. If the supplies is up to 2.5 lakhs, suppose I have made supplies on 1st, 10th, 15th, the value of supplies is 2,40,000, I can issue one separate tax invoice. If the supplies made to unregistered person and that to interstate supply and the value of supplies is 10 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs and 4 lakhs is there. For that, if the value exceeds 2.5 lakhs, in the supplies made to unregistered person and the supplies are made out of the state, in such a case, if the value exceeds 2.5 lakhs, separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. I can revise this 3 points. If the supplies made to registered person, separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. If the supplies made to if the supplies made to registered person, separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. If the supplies made to registered person and the two supplies are within the same state, only one revised consolidated revised tax invoice is enough. And third one, if the supplies made to unregistered person but the such supplies is interstate supplies, that is outside the state, in such a case the value of supplies up to 2.5 lakhs, then consolidated tax invoice is enough. But if the value exceeds 2.5 lakhs, separate revised tax invoice shall be issued. Understand the concept? Okay. What are the particulars of revised tax invoice? It is almost same as tax invoice but small changes. I can read. Name, address and GSTN number of supplier, same. A consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, that is also same. Date of issue of the document, okay. Name, address and GST number if registered of the recipient, okay, that is also okay. Name, address of the recipient and delivery, address of the delivery along with the name of the state code if such recipient is unregistered, that is also mentioned in tax invoice. Serial number and date of corresponding tax invoice, because previously we have issued some regular invoice, now we have issued revised tax invoice. In such a case, previous invoice number should be mentioned. Previously we have issued invoice, now we have issued revised tax invoice. In revised tax invoice, previous invoice number and date you have to mention. Okay. Signature, digital signature of the supplier or his authorized representative. It is only simple. Only what is the contents of the revised tax invoice. Okay. Next. No tax invoice required to be issued if the value is less than 200. Some 1 or 2 marks these questions can be answered. What are the when the tax invoice need not be issued? A tax need not be issued if the value of goods or service or both is less than 200. If the value of goods or service or both less than 200, then recipient is unregistered. Once the recipient is unregistered, it does not require such a tax invoice. Third one, the recipient does not require such invoice. Even though sometimes the recipient does not registered, he requires invoices. If he does not require such invoice, no need to issue tax invoice. So what are the 3 situations when the tax invoice is not issued? Value of goods or service are both less than 200 and the recipient is not required, the recipient is unregistered and the recipient does not require such invoice. In these 3 cases, tax invoice need not be issued. Okay, understand? Next one. Bill of supply. Who is going to issue? Who issue bill of supply? Who are the person eligible to issue bill of supply? All persons are not eligible to issue tax invoice. Some persons are eligible to issue only bill of supply. Who are these 2 persons? Only 2 persons are issuing bill of supply. A person paying tax under composition scheme, and second one, a registered person supplying exempted goods or services or both. What is the 2? One is a person paying tax under composition scheme. Second one, a registered person supplying goods, exempted goods or services are both. These two persons are not collecting taxes. So in such a case, bill of supply shall be issued. I can read now. Section 31(3)(c) stipulates that a registered person supplying exempted goods or services are both, or a registered person paying tax under composition levy shall issue a bill of supply instead of tax invoice. Instead of tax invoice, they can issue a bill of supply because they are not collecting the taxes. Person opting for composition levy shall mention the words composition taxable person not eligible to collect taxes on supplies at the top of the bill of supply. So two persons are eligible to issue bill of supply. One is a person paying tax under composition scheme and a person supplying exempted goods or services are both. But in case of the composition taxable person is not collecting taxes. In such a case, at the top of the bill of supply he has to mention composition supply not eligible to collect taxes on supplies. He has to mention on the top of the bill of supply. Understand? Then what is the bill of supply? Bill of supply is less or more same as tax invoice. What are the contents of bill of supply? Name, address and GST number of supplier, a consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of its issue, name, address and GSTN or UAN if registered of the recipient, HSN code of the goods or services, description of the goods or services, value of supply goods or services are both taken into account, discount, abatement if any, and signature, digital signature of the supplier or his authorized representative. Okay, next. Invoice cum bill of supply. What is invoice cum bill of supply? If I am supplying taxable goods as well as exempted goods, I am supplying taxable goods. I am also exempted goods also I am supplying to an unregistered person only. If I am supplying taxable goods, if I am supplying exempted good to any unregistered person, in such a case I can issue invoice cum bill of supply. First you understand the concept. I am supplying the taxable goods. I am supplying exempt goods, second portion. In third one, I am supplying these two only to an unregistered person. First supplying taxable goods, second supplying exempted goods, and third these supplies made to an unregistered person. Any registered person supplying taxable goods as well as exempted goods to an unregistered person. In such a case, he shall issue a invoice cum bill of supply. In case a registered person supplying taxable goods as well as exempted goods to a registered person, if it is a supply to unregistered person, invoice cum bill of supply. If it is supplies to registered person, in case supplies made to registered person for taxable supplies, he can issue tax invoice. For exempted supplies, he can issue bill of supply. But if these two is supplying to an unregistered person, he can issue a invoice cum bill of supply. I can read now. Where a registered person is supplying taxable as well as exempted goods or services or both to an unregistered person, a single invoice cum bill of supply may be issued for all such supplies. Rule 46A is notwithstanding anything contained in Rule 46 or Rule 14 or Rule 54 of the CGST rules. That means if the supplies of taxable and exempt goods supplies to an unregistered person, invoice cum bill of supply can be issued. In case if the same is supplies to a registered person, for taxable supplies he can issue tax invoice. For exempted supplies he can issue bill of supply. Understand? Okay, next concept. This is only small concept. I can read now. What is receipt voucher? Receipt voucher means a person who is supplying goods or services, he has received some advance from the recipient for supply of goods or services. For such purpose, he shall issue a receipt voucher because he has received such advances. For that purpose, he can issue a refund receipt voucher evidencing that he has received such amount. That means any person who is receiving the advance from the recipient for supply of goods or services, he can issue a receipt voucher. I can read now. A registered person shall, on receipt of advance payment with respect to any supply of goods or services or both, issue a receipt voucher evidencing the receipt of such payment. Same. Particulars of the receipt are the same. Particulars of the receipt voucher. What is the receipt? More or less all the details are common. Name and address of the GST and supplier. GSTN of the supplier, a consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of its issue, name, address and GSTN number or UN number if registered, description of the goods or services, amount of advance taken, how much amount is taken, rate of tax, what is the rate of tax, amount of tax charged in respect of taxable goods or services, place of supply along with the name of the state of its state and its code in case of interstate sales, whether the tax is payable on reverse charge, signature and digital signature of the supplier. Here one more point, any advances I had taken as a supplier of goods, I need not pay any tax, because on advance of supply of goods, there no need to pay any tax. For services you need to pay. For supply of goods, any advance is received, on such advance the supplier is not liable to pay any taxes. Okay. Next concept. Where at the time of receipt of advance, rate of tax and nature of supply is not determinable. I have taken the advance. At the time, what is the rate of tax? What is the nature of supply? If it is intrastate supply, one person has came to me, has given some advance, he has asked me to ready the product. Later only he will inform whether the goods are supplied within the same state or out of the state. Then I have received the advance, I have started the work. Na? So in such a case, I don't know whether it is interstate supply or intrastate supply. I don't know if I don't know the rate of tax. In such a case, what is the rate of tax and what is the nature of supply, we are going to discuss. Whether at the time of receipt of advance, rate of tax is not determinable, we don't know the rate of tax, then the applicable rate is tax shall be paid at the rate of 18. If the tax rate is not known, you have to pay tax at the rate of 18%. Nature of supply is also not determinable. Same shall be treated as interstate supply. If the rate of tax is not known, the rate is 18%. If the nature of supply is not known, it is assumed that the supply shall be as interstate supply. Rate of supply not known, 18%. Nature of supply not known, it is interstate supply. Understand? Okay. Then refund voucher. What is refund voucher? Previously, I have taken an advance for supply of goods and services, and subsequently I am not supplying any goods or services, and I am not issuing the tax invoice. In such a case, I have to refund such amount. At that time, I have to issue a refund voucher. Understand? First, I have received the advances for supply of goods and services, and subsequently, I have not supplied the goods or services, and I have not issued the tax invoice. In such a case, I have to refund the amount, and I have to issue the refund voucher. I can read now. Where on receipt of advance, payment with respect to any supply of goods or services or both the registered person issue a receipt voucher. Okay, but subsequently no supply is made, no tax invoice is issued. In pursuance thereof, the said registered person may issue to the person who had made the payment a refund voucher against such payment. Okay, no? Okay. The same they have mentioned here. Then particulars of refund voucher. Name, address and GSTN number of the supplier, a consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 characters, date of its issue, name and address of GSTN UN if unregistered of the recipient, name, number and date of its receipt voucher, because you have to mention when you are refunding that amount, you have to mention the number and date of the receipt voucher details. Description of the goods or services in respect of which refund is made, amount of refund made, rate of tax, amount of tax in respect of such goods or services, whether tax is payable or reverse charge, then signature and digital signature of the supplier. All these details you have to mention. The contents once you read, you can better have an idea of such details and all. Okay. What we have studied today: time limit to issue invoice in case of supply of goods, in case of supply of services. Then after that, what we have studied: receipt voucher, refund voucher we have studied. Then afterwards, what we have studied today: revised tax invoice and particulars of tax invoice also we have studied. Then afterwards, continuous supply we have studied. Then continuous supply, time limit to issue we have studied time limit to issue tax invoice in case of supply of goods, in case of supply of services, and the details of tax invoice and the manner of issuing tax invoice. HSN code details also we have studied today. Then invoice in case of export of goods or services we have studied. In revised tax invoice we have studied, and contents of revised tax invoice we have studied. Bill of supply we have studied. Invoice cum bill of supply studied, and receipt voucher and refund voucher we have studied till now up to this one. We can end up right now. Tomorrow we will continue time of supply is remaining portion. Thank you. I think you have enjoyed the chapter. Thank you very much.